Lisa Bennett learned very young that some children are loved loudly, while others are merely tolerated. In the Bennett household, love belonged to her older sisters. Responsibility belonged to Lisa. At 17, Lisa woke every morning before sunrise to scrub dishes she didn't dirty, wash clothes she didn't wear, and prepare breakfast for people who barely acknowledged her existence. Lisa, the bathroom floor better sparkle. Lisa, iron my blouse. Lisa, you missed a spot. Lisa, hurry up. The commands came constantly from her mother Diane and her sisters Rebecca and Chloe, as naturally as breathing. Lisa was the youngest by nearly 6 years, though strangers often mistook her for the oldest because exhaustion had matured her eyes. Rebecca had been crowned homecoming queen. Chloe was engaged to a local football star. And Lisa? Lisa cleaned up after everyone. Her father had left when she was 8, unable or unwilling to survive the bitterness inside the home. After he disappeared, Diane hardened into something cold and sharp, and for reasons Lisa never fully understood, her mother seemed to resent her most of all. "You were always difficult," Diane would say whenever Lisa questioned anything. The strange thing was, Lisa wasn't difficult. She was quiet, gentle, brilliant. School became the only place where she existed as something other than a servant. Inside classrooms, Lisa transformed. Numbers made sense to her. Literature came alive in her hands. Science fascinated her. Teachers spoke her name with admiration instead of irritation. Exceptional work. You have real talent. You could go anywhere. Those words became oxygen. Because every afternoon when Lisa returned home, the world shrank around her again. You think you're smarter than everybody. Books won't make anybody love you. Don't get arrogant. Her sisters especially enjoyed mocking her achievements. Rebecca once ripped apart Lisa's science fair project, accidentally on purpose, after losing an argument. Chloe liked calling her Professor Nobody. And Diane never defended her. Not once. Instead, she'd sigh dramatically and say things like, "Your sisters have real social skills. You just hide behind books." But Lisa endured it all because she believed one thing with absolute certainty. School was her escape. College meant freedom. Scholarships meant survival. And Lisa Bennett intended to survive. By the beginning of senior year, Lisa ranked first in her class. Teachers adored her. Colleges pursued her aggressively. Letters began arriving weekly, sometimes daily. Harvard, Northwestern, Stanford. Full academic scholarships, leadership grants, research opportunities. Lisa nearly cried the first time her guidance counselor, Mrs. Alvarez, handed her a thick envelope and whispered, "They're fighting over you." For the first time in her life, Lisa allowed herself to dream. She imagined dorm rooms, libraries, friends, peace. A life where she wasn't ordered around like unpaid help. But slowly, something strange began happening. The letters stopped arriving. At first, Lisa blamed herself. Maybe the schools lost interest. Maybe she wasn't good enough after all. Weeks passed, then months. Meanwhile, Rebecca and Chloe became crueler. "You really thought fancy colleges wanted you? Probably realized you're weird. People like us stay here." Diane added quietly one night while Lisa washed dishes. "Don't fill your head with unrealistic fantasies. College is expensive, and you aren't special." The words lodged deep inside Lisa, because exhaustion wears down even strong minds eventually. She started doubting herself. Maybe the teachers exaggerated. Maybe she had misunderstood everything. Maybe intelligence didn't matter when nobody believed in you. At school, Mrs. Alvarez occasionally asked, "Any decisions yet?" Lisa forced smiles. "I'm still thinking," but shame had begun growing inside her. Because how could she explain that the scholarship letters had vanished? She started avoiding conversations about college altogether. By spring semester, something inside Lisa dimmed. Her grades remained perfect, but the fire behind them disappeared. She stopped staying after school, stopped talking about the future, stopped dreaming. And at home, Diane noticed immediately. "See," her mother said one evening smugly, You're finally growing up and accepting reality. Reality. The word felt like a prison sentence. 3 weeks before graduation, Lisa sat alone in the laundry room folding her sister's clothes while tears slipped silently down her face. She had reached a terrible conclusion. This was her life. Nothing extraordinary was coming. No escape, no rescue. Just years of servitude inside this house until she eventually married someone equally controlling and repeated the cycle forever. The despair settled over her slowly and heavily like wet cement. That night, she stared at the ceiling of her tiny bedroom, wondering if dreams were cruel things invented specifically to hurt poor girls. Her textbooks remained stacked neatly beside her bed. Once they represented hope. Now they looked foolish. Across the hall, her sisters laughed loudly while getting ready for parties and dates and futures that seemed effortless. Lisa rolled over and cried herself to sleep, quietly enough that nobody would hear. Graduation arrived warm and bright. The entire town gathered inside the packed high school auditorium, decorated with blue and gold banners. Parents beamed proudly. Cameras flashed. Students buzzed excitedly about futures waiting just beyond the stage. Lisa sat silently in her cap and gown, feeling hollow. Her family barely spoke to her during the drive over. Diane only complained about parking. Rebecca spent most of the time checking her makeup. Chloe texted her fiancé. Not one of them congratulated Lisa for graduating first in her class. As students lined up backstage, Mrs. Alvarez suddenly appeared beside her looking confused. "Lisa, can I speak to you?" Lisa's stomach tightened. "Did I do something wrong?" Mrs. Alvarez guided her into a nearby office. Then she closed the door gently. "Honey, what happened?" Lisa blinked. "With what?" "The scholarships." "What scholarships?" Mrs. Alvarez stared at her in disbelief. "The full rides. Northwestern, Columbia, Stanford, MIT. Lisa, you were awarded nearly $2 million in combined academic offers." Lisa felt the room tilt. "What?" Mrs. Alvarez's expression slowly changed from confusion to horror. "You mean you didn't know?" Lisa's knees weakened. "I never got anything." Mrs. Alvarez sat down heavily. "Oh my God." And suddenly everything became clear. The missing letters, the mockery, the timing, the hopelessness. Her family hadn't merely insulted her. They had sabotaged her, deliberately, systematically. They wanted her broken, because broken people stay controllable. Lisa began shaking violently. Mrs. Alvarez crossed the room quickly. "Lisa, they hid them." The words came out tiny and devastated. "They hid them from me." Anger unlike anything Lisa had ever felt surged through her body. Not loud anger, something colder, cleaner. For years, she had blamed herself, believed herself weak, worthless, stupid. Meanwhile, the people meant to love her had been burying her alive. Mrs. Alvarez squeezed her hands tightly. "Listen to me carefully. The universities were contacted immediately when you stopped responding. Every single scholarship still stands." Lisa stared at her. "What?" "You earn them, sweetheart." Tears flooded Lisa's eyes instantly. "All of them?" "Yes." Lisa broke then. Years of humiliation, exhaustion, loneliness, and despair poured out of her in shaking sobs while Mrs. Alvarez held her. "They made me think nobody wanted me," Lisa whispered. Mrs. Alvarez pulled back just enough to look her directly in the eyes. "They were wrong." Then she hesitated. "Principal Hargrove and I think you should still give the valedictorian speech." Lisa wiped her face weakly. "I threw it away." "No," Mrs. Alvarez said softly. "I think today you finally found it." An hour later, Lisa stepped onto the graduation stage before nearly 1,000 people. The auditorium erupted into applause. In the crowd, Diane smiled stiffly while Rebecca and Chloe looked bored. None of them knew. Not yet. Lisa approached the podium slowly. Her prepared speech sat folded in her trembling hands, but she no longer wanted it. She looked out across the audience. Teachers who believed in her, students who respected her, families celebrating children they actually loved. Then her eyes landed on her mother, and something inside Lisa finally stood up. She set the prepared speech aside. The room quieted. When I was younger, Lisa began softly, I used to believe family meant the people who protected your dreams. Diane's smile faded slightly. Lisa continued, but sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most terrified of seeing you rise. The room became still. For years, I believed education was my way out. I worked hard because I thought if I earned enough scholarships, enough opportunities, enough success, maybe I could finally become someone worthy. Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. And then this year, the letters stopped coming. Lisa's voice shook slightly. I thought I wasn't good enough anymore. I thought I had failed. Diane's face slowly drained of color. But today, 1 hour ago, I learned the truth. Whispers began spreading through the audience. Lisa looked directly at her family now. The scholarship letters never stopped coming. Silence. My family hid them from me. Gasps rippled through the auditorium. Diane sat frozen. Rebecca whispered harshly, Oh my God. Lisa's hands trembled, but her voice strengthened. They wanted me to believe I was stupid because broken people are easier to control. Several teachers looked horrified. One woman in the crowd covered her mouth. Lisa inhaled shakily. For a long time, I thought love had to be earned through suffering, that being treated badly was normal, that my dreams were selfish. Tears filled her eyes. But today, I learned something different. She unfolded a sheet of paper, then smiled through tears. I have been awarded full scholarships to Northwestern University, Columbia University, Stanford University, MIT, and Harvard. The auditorium exploded. People rose to their feet cheering wildly. Teachers cried openly. Students screamed in excitement. Lisa heard none of it clearly, because for the first time in her life, she saw panic in her family's eyes. Not power, panic. She looked directly at Diane one final time. You tried to bury me, Lisa said quietly into the microphone, but all you really did was teach me how badly I wanted to live. The applause became thunderous, and somewhere in the front row, Mrs. Alvarez stood crying proudly with both hands over her heart. 3 weeks later, Lisa packed her belongings into the back seat of Mrs. Alvarez's car. Not much fit. A few clothes, books, photos she secretly kept from happier childhood moments. Diane never apologized. Rebecca and Chloe avoided her entirely after the graduation scandal spread across town. People whispered about the Bennett family now. Not Lisa. The morning she left, Diane stood silently in the doorway while Lisa carried out her final box. You think you're better than us now, Diane muttered bitterly. Lisa paused. Years earlier, those words would have shattered her. Now they only sounded sad. No, Lisa said softly. I just finally realized I deserved better. Then she got into the car and drove away. As the town disappeared behind her, Lisa cried quietly. Not because she was afraid anymore, but because freedom sometimes hurts when you've spent your whole life fighting for it. Mrs. Alvarez reached over gently and squeezed her hand. You're going to do amazing things. Lisa looked out at the open road ahead. For the first time in years, she believed it too. If you enjoyed this short story, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.